highlights of that research as well on this call. And I'm also joined by Alma Garcia, my longtime and great colleague from Educate Texas, which is one of the largest early college expansion states that is on the cutting edge of early college expansion in all sorts of senses of that word. And she will share some of the work that's been going on in Texas. And we may also be joined by another expansion partner, but David Lawrence from Dayton, whose work I'll talk about a little bit briefly, but I believe something came up last minute there. So we will just soldier on and be happy to take more of the time to answer your questions. So just a word about Jobs for the Future. We're an over 30-year-old nonprofit organization with a mission to ensure that all lower-income young people and workers have the skills and credentials needed to succeed in our economy. And that work, by and large, focuses on creating and trying to expand and scale up strategies that help more students and workers to earn post-secondary credentials and degrees. And early college is a prime example of one such strategy that we've had the privilege to work on, including with many of you on the call today. JSS has been involved with early college and the movement from its beginnings. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, along with a couple of other foundations, gave important startup funding and chose JSS to be a national coordinator of the early college initiative, really the managing partner of that, along with these 13 other national and state level organizations who have been important partners throughout the years. And starting in 2002, we and our partners across the country opened the first early college schools. We helped to develop core principles and spread them to new school developers to ensure that people had the tools that they needed to replicate the design and to test it with some fidelity. And so far, that has really resulted in developing 280 schools serving 80,000 high school students in 32 states. So it's grown to be quite large, although we know that it can reach many more students. And we are involved with a number of partners in spreading early college designs beyond the original initiative to more than 50,000 other additional students, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And early college and the strategies it employs are more relevant today than ever. Everyone in education is really talking about how to better prepare all students for college and career. And we know that most people really need a post-secondary credential to thrive in today's economy and to support themselves and their families. And it's, you know, in part reflected in the requirements of the new Common Core state standards and other college and career-ready standards that states have developed that are similar. You know, I think early college schools not only embody that, but they really give all students a crucial head start on higher education as well, especially focused on students who are historically underrepresented in college, including low-income youth. You'll see some data later, students of color, English language learners, and first-generation college goers. And it really works because of the specific design principles and core principles that I alluded to earlier that are designed to break down the academic, the financial, and the social barriers between high school and college that really so often we know stand in the way of college going and high school completion for that matter for low-income youth. Also, it bears mentioning that many of you have borne witness to that the prospect of saving time and tuition dollars is really motivational for students and families. And this is a movement that's had, as I mentioned earlier, over a decade of success now. As I cited, the first schools opened in 2002. You'll see some data later that I'll cite that we show that not only are early college students beating the averages on high school graduation, but they're sending more students on to college who are ready for the college experience and poised to complete. Just as a headline, 1 in 3, our latest data show that 1 in 3 of early college high school graduates earn their associate's degree at the same time that they graduate high school. This is an indication that they understand what college work is all about, we know that the design of the schools really helps to propel them to post-secondary success. So let's talk a little bit and make sure we're on the same page about what are early college schools. So next slide, please. This slide attempts to capture the following slides, some of the major design features. You know, as a general statement, would say that they compress high school and up to the first 2 years of college into 4 to 5 years. They are partnerships with post-secondary institutions and community organizations, and as this slide shows, they really emphasize a college for all culture. Teachers and administrators really try to start from the core belief that every student is capable of learning at high levels and attending college, and they really try to transmit that in the culture to the students every day. It is important, again, I mentioned partnership with post-secondary. This is a way to integrate the curriculum, not just align, but integrate secondary and post-secondary learning expectations. And there are different ways. This is just one example of how students are immersed in college. And there are different varieties of early colleges, and in fact, a lot of the schools employ some of each of these, but these are some data about the different approaches they employ. So there are many schools that emphasize putting an entire school on a college campus. There are many schools that have college courses on college campuses with traditional college students or college courses taught by college faculty. And there are some schools that offer courses on the high school campus taught by adjunct faculty who come into the high school. So the point of this all being, and as I said, a lot of schools employ all three approaches. The point is to integrate post-secondary expectations into high school. Next slide, please. And what's key about making this successful is that there are support services in place to ensure that we reach the young people who are the target population for early college schools. So for everyone, the supports emphasize academic and non-academic college knowledge, a phrase that David Conley has coined to develop all kinds of college readiness, all dimensions that he talks about that are needed for post-secondary success, both college and career, I should say. And there are academic supports that are needed and that are embodied in these schools, tutoring, advising, taking courses with high school teachers that parallel college courses that really scaffold and support students' success in the college courses. And then many students take courses as a cohort so that they can support each other in these courses through that kind of important peer support that we know is so important for adolescents of this age. And then some examples of non-academic college knowledge, structured experiences like AVID, which we know many of our early college schools employ. It's a system that really helps students to develop the kinds of disciplines, study habits, routines, and organization required to be successful in college. And a lot of the schools that we see employ small seminars covering topics like college admission, financial aid, those kind of navigational skills that we know are so important for first-generation college students who don't come from families by definition who have navigated these systems before. And last but not least, it is really important, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, that instruction has to be high quality. JFF has worked with a number of schools and networks to try to make sure that the instructional approaches are consistent with what students are going to really be able to need to learn and do well at the college level. So this is pictured here are 6 instructional strategies which compose the Common Instructional Framework. And we really think that these should be in evidence across all classes in early college schools, and in fact, in any school that has emphasizes a college-ready approach. So why don't we go to the next slide, please? Now, to the data that has just been released. The impact of early college is, again, with study after study, is just confirming that they have a really positive impact on students. And so here are some examples of that. First of all, I think it's important to remember the population and who we're talking about here. This information, first of all, comes just a step back. The sources, it comes from thousands of students in about 100 representative early college schools in the student information system that JSF developed over the years, and for which we have really robust longitudinal data about these students. So that's where they come from. And the comparison data are from various federal, state, and local sources. So the demographics here, you can read the pie charts for yourself, but the data show that we're reaching the population of students that they were intended to reach. 73% are students of color, 61% are low income by a kind of imperfect measure of free and reduced price lunch for high school students, because we know they don't turn in their forms, so we know that figure is probably even higher. And 56% are the first in their families to attend college. Let's go to some of the outcome slides. Early college students, as this slide depicts, are much more likely to graduate from high school, and these will be posted on our website so that people can take a look at this, and of course you can find it in the report that's associated with it. So I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. So the next slide, please. We know that they're earning substantial college credit in high school, and that is a really good indicator of that they have momentum in their post-secondary education, so that they complete post-secondary education, which is really what's important. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, the latest data are showing here that about 30% of students are earning an associate's degree or other post-secondary credential while in high school. And next slide, please. They enroll, on top of that, early college students are really enrolling immediately in college after high school at higher rates than low-income graduates nationally. Next slide, please. They are actually, our data are showing returning to college for a second year at greater rates, higher rates than their peers nationally, which is no guarantee of completion, but it's a pretty strong step towards completion. So those are just a sampling of some of the data that you'll see in the report. And I just want to end here, and then I think it's a really good segue to my colleague at Educate Texas, Alma Garcia, who's really been at the vanguard of doing expansion work. With Educate Texas and with other partners around the country, JSF has been working to expand these approaches. We're really bullish on early college, as you can see from the data. It's kind of irrefutable. We got to try to reach as many students as we can with these strategies. So we've been trying to work on how do you adapt this and take it to scale, including working with school districts under federal investing in innovation, otherwise known as I3 grants, to expand this proven approach in places like Denver Public Schools in South Texas, where we're working in partnership with Educate Texas, and we're supporting large groups of English language learners in those communities. And we're also, we just have been a party to another winning I3 grant where we will be expanding these approaches in Michigan and in Bridgeport, Connecticut, with a particular focus on building STEM skills in those early colleges. We're also doing work on STEM early college in Chicago, which is described in our report as well, and at Dayton Early College, which is trying to become an early college district and expand this approach in the future. So I want to stop there and invite my colleague Alma Garcia to talk a little bit about her work in Texas, and then we will take your questions.
Thank you so much, Joel, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to showcase the work that we're doing in our great state of Texas. I'm Alma Garcia. I'm a program officer with Early College High Schools with Educate Texas as part of the Community Foundations of Texas. Next slide, please. So This year, we're in celebration of our 10th year anniversary. We started this great work of developing what we call innovative high schools in the state of Texas back in 2004. Last month, we were in celebration with all of our partners, especially our private partners, foundations that have been instrumental from the get-go in trying to help really bring innovation into the state of Texas in the way that we educate our children in high school, but most importantly, prepare them for the rigors and the work in post-secondary schools. Now, these are children, again, as Joel mentioned, students that are of color, at risk, low socioeconomic status, and of course, students that if they did not have any type of interventions in their life, more than likely they would not graduate high school, much less enroll in higher education. Next slide. As part of our presentation this afternoon, we wanted to show a little bit more and some of the data that we've collected in our state of Texas. I know that Joel gave a snapshot of nationally all of the work, the great work that is happening in regards to the early college high school design and the development, especially in expanding this to the various states throughout the United States. But if you would allow me, today I'll share a little bit more information in regards to the early college high schools and how we are expanding and, of course, designing those various elements throughout the state of Texas and the various school districts. Next slide. So in regards to the last few years, this slide really highlights kind of a snapshot of the different areas in the state of Texas where we have actually been instrumental in working with institutions of higher ed in partnership with school districts. This slide pretty well outlines that currently, as of last year, in operation, there was approximately 65 early college high schools. There is a very special blended model where we have 7 blended T-STEM early college high schools. And if you also notice that Joel shared with you that is part of the expansion efforts with Jobs for the Future in trying to put an emphasis in the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and math, in relationship to really trying to align it with the early college high school work. Across the state of Texas, we're approximately working with 24 counties. The largest concentrations is where those arrows are pointing in the Hidalgo County, approximately 15, and I'll just share with you that this coming school year, there's going to be approximately close to 30 early college high schools in that area, both in the Hidalgo, Cameron, Willacy, and Starr County. But for right now, there's 15 early college high schools in the Hidalgo County, and in the Harris County, in the Houston area, there's approximately 11 early college high schools. We do work with educational service centers, and these are large educational service centers that serve as professional development hubs to help the various school districts, especially those school districts that are small and rural. Right now, in the Region 1 area down in the Deep South Texas area, we're really trying to make sure that we have a lot of the emphasis in the development, in the design, and especially in the professional development of the educators, the teachers, and the leaders in the school districts. We found out that the educational service centers can really be of assistance in really trying to promote a lot of this professional development. And if you look across the state of Texas, we have approximately 53 independent school districts that we are currently working with. 26% are in the charter school environment, approximately 17, and 13 of our early college high schools, or 20%, are a school within a school model, which means that we actually, these early college high schools are in a smaller learning setting within a large comprehensive high school. We found very early on that one of the barriers in really trying to replicate or scale the early college high schools was that our institutions of higher ed were becoming landlocked and couldn't build extra or more buildings. And of course, their classrooms were being used throughout the day that would put a lot of pressure in really trying to put more students on a college setting. So Texas has become very innovative in trying to expand and scale the school within a school model in a comprehensive high school. And I can tell you that we've been very successful, and that is part of our initiative in trying to take the early college high school model into the traditional, or what we call the comprehensive high school, and we're being very successful in that area. Next slide. So some of our data is also showing that since 2005, when the doors opened for our first early college high school, there was approximately 4 early college high schools in the state of Texas. As the years have gone on, there's been approximately 70 sites each year that have opened up. And we've averaged the maturity. This means that our schools are cycling to their 4th year and actually having our graduates about 4 schools every year. And our numbers are also showing that approximately 36% of annual growth over the 10 years. What's very surprising to us in the sense that we know that the need is out there, but actually the commitment and the partnerships that have been developed because of this great work. This coming school year, for the 2014-15 school year, approximately 43 new early college high schools will be opening. That will bring the total of the early college high schools in the state of Texas to 108. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is a tremendous increase of school districts and partnerships with institutions of higher ed that are now understanding the importance of students receiving up to 60 college credit hours or an associate's degree while their students are still in high school. As we go on with our presentation, I'm going to share with you a little bit more in regards to why we think there's such a great increase this coming school year in the development and design of the early college high schools. The next slide. So if you were to ask us what does the makeup look like of the students that are attending these early college high schools in Texas, it's very reflective of the national numbers, where we do have the majority of the students in the state of Texas that are Hispanic students, over 72%. 90% of these students are historically underrepresented in higher education, which really tells us that approximately 65% of those students are first-generation college goers. Something that's probably not new, that the majority of our students are female, that we are really trying our best to make sure that we are addressing and targeting the male population. As of right now, over 72% of our students are considered economically disadvantaged. You will note from this slide also that in the state of Texas, in order for you to be considered or put your label or title of early college high school, there is a process that school districts have to go through an application process to the Texas Education Agency in order to be declared or designed an early college high school. One of the non-negotiables, or what we call one of our benchmarks, I know, Joel, we used to call these our core principles, which they still are, is the targeted population, and keeping true to making sure that we are targeting that population of students that we already know need intervention, support, and more directly need a lot of that attention that these students will and can be college material and college-going students. So we're very true to this first core principle of the targeted population, and by these numbers, we're very clear and in alignment to fulfilling that core principle of the target population. Next slide. So under some of the performance indicators, if you go to the next slide, we start talking a little bit about the some of the data that we have collected over the last 10 years. Students in the state of Texas, as other states, have to pass the standardized tests, mostly in the content areas of math, writing, and language arts. If you notice, we have our tax test. This is the Texas Assessment assessment of knowledge and skills, and this is a standard curriculum that we use, and then where the students are tested. The students in the areas of social studies, science, math, and language arts are outperforming the students in the traditional high schools in the state of Texas. These numbers are really showing that in the content areas of math and science and the English language arts, our students are outperforming the students in the state of Texas. So we feel very confident that the level of rigor in these content areas of that the state of Texas requires that students test in, early college high schools are outperforming traditional students. Next slide will also show you that students are performing or achieving at approximately 40% higher rate in what we call completion rates for students taking dual credit or advanced placement courses. We will show here that based on our Texas Education reporting data, that students from 2008 currently up to 2011, they are again completing these dual credit courses at a higher rate than the students in, again, the state of Texas in comparison schools. So we feel, again, very confident that a lot of success has happened in the classrooms in respect to really being very direct in the rigor of promoting college-going courses while the students are in high school. Our next slide would also indicate that students are graduating more college-ready than in the state average, which means that students are not only doing great in the classrooms using the college curriculum, but we are also noticing that students are being very successful in fulfilling and passing the college courses while they're in high school. This is very important because in the state of Texas, in order for a student to take the core courses in college, they have to take a college readiness exam that literally tells the institutions of higher ed that the students are ready for the rigors of college coursework. So that means that our early college high school students right now are being more proficient in this, what we call TSI, the Texas Success Initiative test or assessment that students need to take. So both subjects here are listed both in the areas of math and the language arts, but again, students are being very successful in passing the college entrance exams and, of course, completing the college courses. Our next slide would also give you some information that once our students are graduating from our early college high schools, their college-going rate is a lot higher than the Texas college-going rates. And if you notice, the number of graduates in 2007 were 36, and still 58% of those students were enrolling into an institution of higher ed after graduating high school. To date, the last data that we have here is in 2012, we had approximately 2,333 graduates, again, with a 73% college-going rate compared to 54% in the state. So again, it's very evident that while students are learning in high school and are being instructed with the level of rigor that college students are expected to deliver, and the expectations of their learning, our students are understanding the importance of learning and understanding that this is just the kind of the segue in continuing their education once they graduate from high school. There's a lot of school districts that are working diligently with their higher ed partners to making sure that as these students are graduating, or what we call transitioning from the early college high school community college setting into a four-year university, those support systems that Joel talked about, those academic, social, emotional support systems are in place in order for the students that once they enroll into a higher education or four-year institution, they continue to receive all the supports in order to assure that they graduate from the four-year institution. The next slide will also give you some background information If you notice that map of Texas, Joel shared with us that a lot of our states are really going deep in trying to develop the early college high schools, and some states have what we call state support from their education agencies to do this. What we wanted to really emphasize is that since 2002, there are over 280 schools serving more than 80,000 students nationwide in 32 states. And the emphasis here is that 20,000, a little bit over 20,000 of those students are all located in the state of Texas, which means that other states are really making a great effort in expanding the early college high school. But in Texas, they understand, based on the 10 years of the work that we've been doing in Texas, the importance of really now taking these design elements to scale. The next slide will also give you a little bit more information in regards to the theme for our webinar today was the scale and expanding of the designs and proven practices of early college high schools. And I'm about to close up, but we wanted to share with you in the next slide, what is the definition of scale? This is the next slide will tell you, but not just yet, it'll tell you the lessons learned, but this is what we have defined in regards to what we have gathered in working with our partners, that in order to scale, we need to move beyond the school-by-school approach. We know that early college high schools, while they only, because of the design, address approximately 100 students at a time, we've had 10 years of our own due diligence and research that school districts are wanting to do this type of work and this type of connections with a lot more school population. So we know that it can't be just one school, it has to go deep and school-wide. We're focusing on the entire K-16 pipeline. We know that it's not, students shouldn't be learning about going to college and high school. Some school districts as early as the elementary years are really making the definition by working with the community and the parents to understand what it takes for their child to go to college. We know that the state agencies need to be very invested and become partners of this work, and in the state of Texas, the Texas Education Agency, the Governor's Office, the Texas Higher Ed Coordinating Board that works with our institutions of higher ed, they have been great champions of the work that we're doing. And not only champions in regards to investing time, effort, and funding, but also in changing policy and trying to find rules and the language in order to support. Our office is doing due diligence and trying to make sure that our legislators understand not only the barriers that the students and their families are going through, but also the institutional barriers, transportation, an example, textbooks, all of that takes very creative funding, and our multiple state agencies, part of our work with them is to make them understand that we need to look at that differently. We're looking at implementation and sustainability differently also, because we know that once creative funding, or what we call investment funding, cycles out, these school districts need to understand how to really keep on and expanding these designs and to make sure more students are being targeted and reached. And of course, we understand that we need to test a lot of the programs over time before we decide what to scale. We have learned a lot through the work that we're doing, but we understand that also we go a little bit deeper in some of our school districts, as Joel mentioned, East South Texas and Folsom on Alamo and the Brownsville Independent School District in Clint. These are school districts where we're taking what we've learned and taking it to scale throughout the school district. And lastly, the next slide will tell you a little bit of what we have learned. We have learned that we have to consider how to scale and sustain beyond the schools and how to get the school districts more involved. We've partnered with the multiple agencies to align and support the overall missions and goals of the schools. We know that we need to use a clear model and support structure to scale the programs that we have. So it does take a little bit more than just a superintendent or a president of a university saying, I think we should try this. We really need to be very clear in what are the designs and what are the expectations of these models. The investment of time and the partnerships, we need to make sure that during the course of the development, the partnership does not dissolve, but there has to be a deliberate effort to make sure that the partnerships continue and they become very strong as they scale or expand this particular model. And lastly, of course, we're trying to really put together the research that kind of validates a lot of the practices that we're doing in our school districts. I know that Educate Texas, in partnership with JFF, with Jobs for the Future, and also the Texas Education Agency, are trying to put together all of what we have learned to make sure that they understand that the data is part of the evidence to our legislators and all of our partners that this model is not a fluke. It is by design, by deliberate design, that these schools are doing great, and this evidence and data is showing that. And lastly, we know that the only way to learn this great work is by connecting practitioners to each other. Teachers, leaders, we're talking principals, we're talking presidents and deans and chairs. We really make a very deliberate effort of bringing them together to learn from each other. And we know this is the best way to really spread and learn from each other on the early college high school designs. So these, bringing the practitioners together has really yielded, I think, the rationale behind and the evidence as to why we have approximately 43 new early college high schools in the state of Texas. That concludes my part of the presentation, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. But as you know, in our great state of Texas, there's a lot of great work that is going on. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Alma. That was a really informative presentation, and what was so nice about it, I think, in part, one of many nice things is that the experience in Texas and what you're learning and the results that you're seeing really do mirror what we're seeing nationally. And we do have I'm going to do a couple things here. Really what I want to do is begin to invite questions from participants, and the best way to do that is to send them over the chat, and you can send them to the ECDS team privately if you wish, or you can send them to everyone, but I think it's probably best if we just manage it if you send it to the ECDS team. And we already have one question, which was something that was on my mind, and it's a question that says, we mentioned sustainability when the quote-unquote money runs out. Do we have an idea of how many schools would go away if there was no I-3 or grant funding? So I'm going to take a shot at that, Alma, and then I'm going to invite you to just respond to that as well. And I guess that would just be, it's a great question, and it's something that if we have a little time, I want to kind of turn it back to the participants on the call to sort of ask them how they're seeing what kind of sustainability and scale-up strategies they're using and what challenges are they seeing. But I'd say from the national vantage and in our work with schools, it's actually been quite amazing. The schools that have been started, in large part, they really, with rare exception, they're still going. And I think that speaks to the commitment that they had going into the vision and the commitment of their post-secondary partners. Because the funds were always intended to be startup. Just to be clear, the I-3 funds are expansion funds. They are not to sustain current work. They are to expand the approach to additional students. So, I do think it's a fair question to ask, how are we thinking about sustainability after the I-3? And my answer would largely be the same. A lot of the foundations we are building are about building the capacity of the schools and the leaders in those schools and the teachers and instructional coaches in the districts and the district leaders to carry on these approaches and to make sure that the agreements that are set up with post-secondary partners are lasting and sustainable. So, the initial money is to get things kind of going, to roll out the design elements, to get teachers trained up. But beyond that, we see this as something that needs to be owned by local communities, and for the most part, I believe that has been the experience out in the field. Alma, how would you answer that?
You're correct, Joel. As far as the I3 grants, it is for expansion, which means that all these lessons learned we have, as an example, in Parson Juan Alamo in partnership with Brownsville Independent School District in Deep South Texas. It's about taking the elements of what they've learned and expanding or scaling it in another school district that is just starting up with their early college high schools. What we've learned in the state of Texas that part of the sustainability is the institutions of higher ed waive all of the tuition for the students and their families, which means that you know, the school districts do have a burden in regards to textbooks and transportation, but that is something that is done from the beginning. As part of the design, the teams get together and they do not only plan a year-to-year budget, but they actually plan out a 5 to 6 year budget to make sure that the allocation of all these funds as far as the budget in supporting the development of the early college high school are in place. As of right now, there is no state support coming from the Texas Education Agency. Back in 2004 through about 2007, there was some support in regards to the development of the early college high schools. But now I can almost tell you that out of those 107 or 108 new early college high schools, the majority, and I'm talking the majority of the school districts are really the early college high schools are developed or designed with local and, of course, any of their budgets. And remember, some of these schools are school-wide or school within a school, so they're being very creative in repurposing their budgets to address the needs of the early college high school. So, Joel, you're correct. There is no state funding for early college high schools in Texas. This is done through the collaborative of the partnership.
Great. And am I off? Oh, okay. And I would thought I was on mute still. Sorry about that. And I'd also note, Alma, that if I'm not mistaken, you still have a state designation process that actually gives schools I guess I would say the permission to use the early college high school brand. And even though there is no money on the table, I do understand there's resources and technical assistance that schools can get as a result of being designated. But that has the fact that there's no money on the table has not dampened the enthusiasm or number of applicants that have of school districts that have wanted to have their schools designated as early college schools, which I think is a testament to the work you folks have done to sort of get districts to say, hey, we want to invest our own resources. We could use a little help, not necessarily financial, but technical assistance to help get this going. So
you're correct, Joel. You're correct, Joel, in the sense that once the design is done, the school districts develop the early college high schools. The state of Texas, through the Education Agency, does allow some investment funding to help support the leaders and the teachers in the form of professional. In the actual design, you're correct. This is something that the school districts, through the last lesson learned, bringing practitioners together, they've learned part of their learning is how to budget or repurpose their budgets to support the design of early college high schools.
Great, great. Now, do we have any other questions? I want to make sure that I leave good, a quiet time for people who are a little shy to ask questions as well. But I would again invite your questions. In the meantime, let me just remind you of a couple of things here. One is, as you'll see from this slide, all the data that we cited are available in the Early College Expansion report, Propelling Students to Postsecondary Success at a School Near You, authored by my longtime good colleague, Michael Webb. Those data and more are in that report. We'd encourage you to go and get it. It's free on the website there. And then also we urge you to really be active participants in Early College Week and try to use this opportunity to promote the success of the schools that you're supporting, that are being supported nationally, and raise awareness among policymakers, among the public, in your communities about the work, this work, and also you know, what kind of success it's having. And so I would ask folks a question here, and if anyone wants to weigh in on chat, or it would be great, or we could just make this rhetorical, and you can write to us later. You know, we would ask as JFF, what does the field need? You know, what kind of resources do you need to continue to scale up early college in your communities? What kinds of, you know, including what kinds of challenges and barriers to scale up have you seen? And are there any specific resources that we can be developing here, or services or networks that would be helpful in supporting your work? Because I know it's really hard, and it's a climb. So we would welcome any opportunities and ideas that you have for us to help you. So we haven't gotten any other, you know, I know you're kind of, you're sitting on that, thinking about that, which is great. So again, I invite you to weigh in again with your question. Someone just asked, are we planning another conference for next year? And the answer to that is yes. And it looks like it's going to be in Texas, and details are going to be coming. We haven't nailed the details yet, so I'm hesitant to announce time, date, you know, location, but it looks like we'll be working with our partners, Educate Texas, to make that happen again this year. So we're looking forward to it. So that's a good example of one way that we can be helpful in sustaining the movement. That's certainly something that I think we've heard pretty loudly and clearly based on the success of the last conference in Raleigh. So it's why we want to try to do it again this year. So I want to close by thanking everyone for taking the time, and especially thanking Alma Garcia for sharing all of the work and results of that work, and also future plans in Texas. Thank you, Alma. It's been great to have you as a partner. And again, I would encourage you to participate in Early College Week. Make sure you go to that Twitter handle there that you see on the slides, and we will make these slides available on our website as well, so that you can share them with other folks in your community. And this webinar, the recording of which will also be on the website. So thank you all. Thank you all for your hard work, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you, Joel. Have a good day.
You too. Bye, everyone.